You're listening to the Live from the Backroom podcast, a podcast for music lovers by music lovers. My name is John McAndrew, and welcome to my debut episode. Before I begin on the topic that I wanted to talk about today, I wanted to give a little bit of background on who I am. I am a current college student at Cal State San Marcos with a major in communications and a minor in history. Might explain why he's so social. I'm also an avid collector of music, be that vinyl, cassettes, CDs, DVDs, VHS tapes, posters, you name it, I probably have it. I'm currently looking at my collection, and I have 3 bookcases in a horseshoe shape housing about 2,000 albums. I'm 21, and I've been collecting since I was 15. So having 1,500 albums in under 6 years is a math equation that I really don't want to do. It just means I spend a lot of money I should probably be saving, but, you talk to any other record collector and they'll tell you the same thing. It's a fun hobby, but it's financially debilitating. The reason why I started this podcast is kind of a funny story. I always knew I wanted to have my own podcast, and I wanted to just use it as an outlet to talk with friends or local musicians and, musicians in general, whether they be from San Diego, LA, around the world. But it wasn't until I got an email about 2 weeks ago from Spotify saying, calling all student podcasters, that they would help people like me start their own podcast. So here we are. What you can kind of expect from the podcast, as I've already mentioned, is talking with some of my friends and local musicians in the scene here in Southern California. But I also want to deep dive some albums, whether they are well-known records or obscure records. And here's where I'm going to lead into the topic I wanted to discuss. I also want to talk about concerts. Once, you can go back to your venues of choice. We started lockdown March 13th or somewhere in that, and it's been almost 8 months. I cannot explain to you how badly I want to get back to my local venues. Jesus Christ, I will give my left hand right now to get back to one of my venues. I don't care if it's a concert hall, a stadium, hell, it could be in somebody's basement. I don't care. I miss live shows. Don't get me wrong, live stream concerts have been awesome, and I've been able to catch a few of them. The first one was the new Pussifer album, live from Arcosanti in Arizona. That was fantastic. The next one was Monophonics, live at the Sweetwater Music Hall in San Francisco. That was amazing. And what was the most recent one? Young the Giant, live from Sunset Sound. They did their first debut record in its entirety to celebrate its 10th anniversary. Oh my God, Samir has not sounded any better than he did now. He sounded fantastic. The whole band sounded great. But that's what I wanted to talk about were concerts. And I'm a product of older parents, so I have grown up on some of the best music a kid could ever ask for. So naturally, my first concert would be, no, it's not really natural. This kind of started the domino effect into what is now you could either call it an addiction or a hobby, but since I'm not willing to admit to how much money I've spent on music in general, we're just going to call it a hobby. My first concert was March 10th, 2009. I was 9 years old, and it was at the LA Hollywood Bowl. I had never been to a concert at that point, and I didn't know what to expect. I was in 5th grade, and my parents pulled me out of school and like, hey, we're going to go see your aunt and uncle. It was Wednesday. I'm thinking, oh, cool. Not having a clue in the world what we were actually doing. And I was doing homework on the drive up, and it took us probably 3 hours, from San Diego to LA, because you gotta love LA traffic. Get up to LA, get to see my aunt and uncle. We go out to dinner and hang out, and we're back at their place. And my dad goes, "So we didn't bring you up here just for a visit with family." And he hands me a card and a box. And in that box is a brand new Beatles shirt. Now, I'm 9 years old. I have been wearing band tees of the Beatles, Pink Floyd, and David Bowie since I was probably 3. I was that kid. I still am that kid, except I'm now the person who dresses in mainly black t-shirts, gray skinny jeans, but, black's my favorite color, or shade, whatever, before anybody gets mad at me. Where was I going with this? Oh, right. I got a new Beatles shirt. It was Yellow Submarine, tie-dye. It was, I think, teal or this aqua. It was a really cool shirt. I kind of miss it. I might have to track one down in my size. But I opened the card, and there's a ticket stub. And on it says, "The Runaway Tour, live at the Hollywood Bowl, Sir Paul McCartney." Paul McCartney is my hero. I worship this dude. I have almost all of his albums, almost all of the Beatles records. Actually, I'm pretty sure I do have them, because I stole most of them from my parents. But don't tell them that. You didn't hear it from me. I also have a couple of his bootlegs. Man, that guy is just a maestro. Anyway, I'm looking at this ticket, and I start shaking. I'm 9 years old. I don't know how to react. I start crying because I can't believe this is what I get to do. I'm also probably celebrating because it was a school night, and I was just like, yeah, I don't have to do anything. So we get to the venue, and it is just packed. I mean, it is not mellow whatsoever. You walk in and all you hear is, "Wah." I mean, people were rocking and ready to go. Lights go out. My ears may have well started bleeding from the amount of yells and screams that happened. But it's Paul McCartney. It's a Beatle. You should expect this to happen. But again, being my first concert, I'm not really used to all of the, I don't want to say theatrics, but I'm just not used to the reaction. So all of a sudden, you start hearing guitar strumming, and I immediately recognize it, and it's Venus and Mars. Now, fast forward like probably 6-7 years when I finally start buying vinyl. I'm listening to the 1976 live record from Wings Over America, and it opens with this, I don't know if you would call it like a melody or a suite, but it opens with a 10-minute opener, and it's the most badass intro you've ever heard. It's Venus and Mars that transitions to Rock Show into Jet. At that point, if that doesn't set the tone for what the concert's going to be, you need to leave. He redid that for this show. And if I remember correctly, it went Venus and Mars, Rock Show, Jet into Drive My Car, and Only Mama Knows. This was 2009, so it was the album My Ever-Present Past, which is also a great solo record. Like I said, my favorite song off that album is Only Mama Knows, just because there's this amazing build-up, and the bass line's a lot of fun to play. So I get to hear all of my favorite hits. I heard Jet, I heard Band on the Run, Bluebird, Mrs. Vanderbilt. Yeah, I heard most of the Band on the Run record. I know I just named like half the album, but you know what I mean. I heard a bunch of Beatles cuts. Sgt. Pepper's, All My Lovin', Can't Buy Me Love, A Hard Day's Night, and because Paul is a showman of all showmans. He ended the show with the whole suite ending at Abbey Road, which blew my mind. Fast forward a couple years later, I don't remember what my next concert was, but June 19th, 2019, I'm at Petco Park. And not to dig at my local baseball team, even though I don't follow baseball, Paul was able to do something the Padres can't really do, which is sell out 38,000 seats at the Petco Park Stadium, arena, whatever. He sold it out. And this was on the Egypt Station tour, or the... What's the tour name called? I'll remember it, but I can't. It'll come to me. The Freshen Up tour. There it is. Look at that. It's like he knows what he's doing. I really don't. So I got to hear a bunch of amazing cuts. And the nice thing is, from one set list to another, is they were obviously different. But I got to see him 10 years apart. I was 19 when I saw him. I was 9 when I first saw him. Or was I 20? It was 10 or 11 years. I'm not good at math. Like I said, I'm a communications major. That's not in my, that's above my pay grade. Even though I don't even have a pay grade. So, Paul had just turned 77 that Tuesday. I was seeing him on Saturday. And it's 8:30. He gets up on the stage and just kills for 3 hours and 30 minutes. No breaks, no opener, no bullshit. On the stage, rock and roll till your knees buckle. I can't remember what he opened with, but I do know that it transitioned into Junior's Farm. I got to hear Letting Go, which is one of my favorite songs off of the Venus and Mars record, and a bunch of the really good cuts off of Egypt Station. That's actually one of my other favorite McCartney solo records, but I'm really excited for December 11th or 12th to roll around when McCartney 3 comes out. As he puts it, made in Rockdown. This whole episode is going to sound like a tribute to Paul McCartney. But I'm just setting the grounds for the concerts I've, been to before the world decided to, go upside down. The last concert I went to, actually the last two, January 9th, I was at the Pachanga Theater. It was a 1,500 seat theater, really, really intimate space, beautiful venue. And I got to see one of my other heroes, Tony Bennett. Now, I can't explain just how incredible that performance was. He's 94, but when I saw him, he had just turned 93. And he has been preserving the American Songbook since he was in World War II in 1943 in the U.S. Army Band. I mean, he is just the elder statesman of the American Songbook. If it weren't for, Cole Porter, the Gershwin brothers, man, a lot of great songwriters. If it weren't for them, we just wouldn't have music the way we have it today. And Tony makes sure that we understand that. And for an hour and a half, he had all of us in the palm of his hand. He's 93. And just gets up with his little trio and brought the house down. Lullaby on Broadway, Firefly, I Left My Heart in San Francisco, The Way You Look Tonight, The Very Thought of You, just the amazing staples that he has made so famous, and many others from his time. Sinatra, Dean Martin, Nat King Cole, Bing Crosby, Andy Williams. You want me to keep going? I'm kidding. That's just to name a few. Fast forward 3 days later, I'm at the SDCCU Viejas Casino Arena. That holds probably 25,000, 30,000 people. So I've gone from 1,500 to 25,000. I've gone from Tony Bennett to Tool. I have never seen Tool live, and I had become a fan of theirs a couple years earlier because I saw a video from a YouTuber who goes by Polyphonic, who does deep dives on albums and songs and different concepts for music, and one of them was the mathematics behind their song off of Lateralus, the title track, Lateralus, and it follows the Fibonacci sequence. It is one of the most incredible videos and incredible songs I've ever heard. So after I saw that, I immediately just sunk my teeth in and just was enamored with this band. My parents wanted to throw me out of the house because I would just nonstop be playing Tool. So when they finally announced that they're coming out with a new album, it had been 13 years since 10,000 Days, when that came out in 2006. We get the first single, Fear Inoculum, this 10-minute just masterpiece. I love that song, and I love this album. I mean, it may not be as loud or as, foreboding as some of their other albums, but it's a damn good record with songs, Pneuma, Descending, Invincible, which is arguably my favorite track off the record, and the absolute face melter that is Tempest, Adam Jones's best solo work ever, arguably. I mean, it's 15 minutes. If you are not headbanging in the first 3 minutes, you gotta reevaluate what you're doing here. So their opener is Author and Punisher, which I have absolutely no idea what that was. I'm not going to knock on the guy. I mean, he has a really cool setup, but the sound is just not for me. It sounds way too, sludgy, dark, doom metal, black metal, I don't know, death metal-y type stuff. Haven't really delved into it. Not exactly for me. I don't knock anybody who listens to it. If you do, that's cool. No issues. Then all of a sudden, the lights go down, and again, I thought the whole roof was just going to collapse because Tool hadn't been on a North American tour for, maybe close to 10 years. So they open with Fear Inoculum. So already it's just an absolute tone setter because you're in your seat, and when you hear that opening synth ding, you're like, okay, it's going to be one of these nights. After that, they go into Anima, which is one of my favorite songs because I don't like LA, and apparently they don't either, so we're good. Yes, Fear Inoculum, Anima. Then I think they went into Pneuma, which is one of my other favorite tunes off the record, because Justin Chancellor has this bass line that is just infectious. Ding, 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 ding. It's just so great. I should probably have mentioned that on my off time I play the piano and I noodle on bass. I'm not in any band. I'm not a stellar musician by any means. I will get people who are. But when that album came out, I immediately went to Songster or guitartabs.net, and I was like, I need to find this tab just so I could play this breakdown. Chancellor just, he is a monster. So funny story on how we got to the Tool show. Like I said before, my parents wanted to kill me. I was playing Tool so much. And I have this like tendency when I listen to a new band where I will just go on sometimes it'll be a weekend, a week, a month, or 6 months where I listen to nothing but that specific band. So I went through it with the Eagles. I went through it with Pink Floyd. I went through it with the Beatles, Paul McCartney, all of the Beatles solo material, really. One of the most recent ones that I have been on and still am is Miles Davis. I was in McCall, Idaho, this small town outside of Boise, visiting my aunt, and I was prepping dinner, and she goes, oh, let me put something on, and she puts on this record, and it's Kind of Blue. I had never heard of this record before, which I know some of you are probably thinking, really? You've never heard Kind of Blue? I know. You can beat on me later. Once it's over, I kind of just sat there like I had just been taken to church. And I went over to the stereo and I played it again. Then a third time. I listened to Kind of Blue, I think 5 times that night, just because of how incredible of a record that is. By the time I got back down to Boise, I went to the Record Exchange, which is one of my favorite record stores in the world. And I was on the Blues Brothers' Mission from God. I can't go home until I get Kind of Blue. I picked up the CD. They didn't have it on vinyl, which is fine, because now that I have the CD, I can put it on my phone, and I love that record. Next thing I know, I have round about midnight working, obviously Kind of Blue, and a bunch of live stuff. Live Miles is just another animal in of itself. I realize I've gone on a tangent. I'm sorry. That's going to be a pretty common thing for me. My brain just gets scattered like birdshot. So, where was I? Talking about Tool, deep diving records. Oh, right. So, when I was deep diving Tool, my parents would be like, really? You're not going to listen to anything else? I would be blaring it out of my car. It's just one of the most amazing bands. Plus, you'll usually find someone on the street when you're playing it going like, hell yeah, dude. Just because Tool brings you people together. I don't know what it is, but they just do. So I find out they're going on a North American tour, and I buy a ticket, just one. If I didn't make that obvious enough, oh, man. So I send a text to my dad. I'm like, here's what I'll be doing Saturday night. And he texts me back going, you didn't buy 2? So I call him. I go, I thought you hated this band. He goes, no. I mean, it may not be my cup of tea, but I want to go see them just because I think it'd be interesting. My dad and I have this really funny bond when it comes to music. And same thing with my mom. When I grew up, I kind of dubbed myself the greatest hits baby because I grew up on, obviously, the greatest hits of my favorite bands. I grew up listening to the Beatles, the Stones, David Bowie, and then I'm listening to John Prine, rest in peace, Sinatra, Dean Martin, Tony Bennett, and just a bunch of these artists that you wouldn't expect a kid like me to be growing up and listening to. But again, product of older parents, I'm so spoiled when it comes to music. So I tell my dad, look, I'll buy a second set of tickets, but I don't know what I'll do with the first one. And he goes, well, I'll give it to a guy that I work with because he loves Tool. I go, okay, cool. We'll make it happen. Fast forward 6 months, it's January, and we go to the show. It's amazing. We get to the car, and I just go, so what'd you think? And my dad just goes, it may not be exactly my type of music, But I understand now why people like it, because if they come to town again, I will go see them. And I thought that was really cool to be able to share that with my dad. So I'm trying to blink again. Where am I going with this? That's the great thing about podcasts. You can kind of just ramble, and everybody thinks, oh, it's such an art form. Really, it's just a way for me to just do a brain dump, but I get to talk about something I genuinely enjoy. Speaking of things I genuinely enjoy, obviously talking, I plan on having a couple of some of my best friends on the podcast. I don't know when that will be, which is fine. I'm not used to doing something like this, and obviously there's plenty of logistics that need to be worked out in order to make a podcast work. So to answer the question that wasn't asked, if there's a set schedule on when episodes will come out, the answer right now is no. I am, like I said in the beginning, I'm a full-time student. I also have a part-time job, so it's kind of hard to find time with friends and stuff, because we're all working, doing homework, and trying not to bash our heads into the wall while, focusing on finals. So hopefully in the next couple of weeks, I will have a couple of friends on. I don't have a set list, but I will probably announce them or talk about them on my Instagram, which, surprise, I'm going to plug that because I'm selfish. No, I'm kidding. Like I mentioned, I'm a collector of records, and I like to post and talk about some of those said records on my Instagram. You can find me at Needle Nose Records, NEEDLE Records, on Instagram. And that's kind of about it. I hope you enjoyed my little ramblings here, and I just wanted to talk about something that we've all missed, which was obviously concerts. And I got to relive some of that euphoria. So hopefully I will have a guest on soon. And yeah, that's about it. Thanks so much for listening. Like I said, you can find me on Instagram at Needle Nose Records. I post every couple of days, and I will have a new album every post, and I usually deep dive on it. So hope to see you there, and I hope you enjoyed my first episode. Thanks so much.